Most families will lose all of their money by the third generation. Almost every culture around the world has their own expression for it. Paddy field to paddy field, rags to rags, shirt sleeve to shirt sleeves. And that last phrase in particular seems to be popping up absolutely everywhere. Forbes articles, the BBC, business schools, boardrooms. It's become accepted wisdom. You've probably heard of the idea before. The first generation makes the money, the second one spends it, and the third one sees none of the wealth. Or perhaps that most family wealth arrives like a tortoise, but runs away like a gazelle. That your hard-earned money is doomed to be dissipated by the time the grandkids grow up. But is that actually true? Well, my name's Sam Instone. I'm one of the team of the only certified fiduciary in the Middle East, Asia and Africa. And in this video today, I'm going to show you why it might not be as true as you've always been led to believe, how the smartest families are protecting their wealth, and what you can do to set up the next generation for far greater success. But first, we need to understand where this whole idea started. So why do we keep hearing this idea that family wealth just can't last? A big part of the blame lies with a single book. Back in 1987, a man named John Ward published a book called Keeping the Family Business Healthy. And in it, he referenced a study of 200 manufacturing companies based in a single US state of Illinois, tracked from 1924 to 1984. Now, according to that research, only 30% of wealth survived to the second generation, 13% to the third, and 3% to the fourth. These stats were alarming and, more importantly, very memorable. And from that, we've got the statistics that's now been repeated so many times, it's basically gospel. 70% of family wealth fails by the third generation. Cue the anxiety, the sleepless nights, the my kids are going to ruin everything panic. Here's the problem. That research is seriously flawed. Dr. James Grubman, who's a psychologist and globally respected expert in family wealth, authored one of my favorite books called Strangers in Paradise. And in it, he decisively picked the entire concept of shirt sleeve to shirt sleeves in 3 generations apart. He pointed out something that's obvious, but somehow went ignored for decades. First of all, the sample size was tiny. It was limited to just 200 family companies, all of them some from the same industry, manufacturing, and all of them in a single region, the state of Illinois. And most importantly, it only tracked whether or not the previously family-owned business stayed in the family, and not whether the family's wealth or success actually endured. Now, that's a really massive difference. Grubman's view is refreshingly simple. Instead of following the company, follow the family. Because the truth is, companies come and go. That's just the nature of business and of capitalism. Great firms eventually get bought, sold, or disrupted and replaced. But families, in contrast, can adapt. They can reinvent themselves. They can successfully nurture and grow different types of capital if they're properly supported. Grubman argues that value creation doesn't live in the business alone. It lives in the people behind it. He's seen countless families successfully ride from one wave and then jump to the next, sometimes moving from retail to tech, manufacturing to real estate, or business to philanthropy. The legacy isn't just in the company, it's in the mindset, the stewardship, the strategy, and the people. And when you shift your focus to sensible family wealth decision-making, everything changes. And if you want to see what this kind of family-focused life strategy looks like, we put a link in the description that shows you the exact blueprint we use with our clients to map out their family's financial futures for generations to come. But why does such limited, old, and poorly designed research spread so rapidly? Well, arguably, it's in the interests of banks, brokers, lawyers, trustees, and other members of the traditional financial services industry to create fear in order to potentially purvey their own products and services. And fear, over time, becomes stories that families can start to believe. Maybe my kids just can't handle this, so I should create a complicated trust. Maybe my trusted friend at the bank who I play golf with at the weekends should make all the investment decisions for my family. Maybe we're all destined to fail. Fear, in some cases, can actually cause a failure, a prophecy fulfilled only because people believed it in the first place. The good news is that things are different now. Today, families aren't flying blind. There's actually much better support, better wisdom, and more tools than ever to preserve and grow wealth across multiple generations. We're in a golden age of family wealth and decision making. In fact, here at AES, having helped thousands of such families flourish, thrive, and prosper in retirement, as well as having seen many families drift, struggle, and languish, we know that there are actually 3 must-have assets required for future family success. In fact, you might want to have a pen and paper handy because it's going to be pretty important stuff. So if I ask you to start listing your assets, what do you think you're going to start writing down? Take just a couple of seconds. Maybe you're listing things such as cash in your bank account, pensions, houses, stocks, bonds, and things like that. Now, think about the answer to this question. What are the most important things in your life right now? Did you maybe think about your spouse, your kids, maybe your faith or your health or your creative mind? Now, was anything that you thought of on that second list included on the first list? Usually, the answer is no. And this is typically because we don't think about the things on our second list as assets, but they are. As financial life manager today, as we're not only engaging in your financial assets, but we know that you actually have 3 types of assets that you steward. And managing all 3 is going to be critical to successful retirement and your family's future. So here are the 3 types. The first type are the assets that we're most used to. They're the ones that we listed above. Things like the financial assets, houses, bank accounts, pensions, and investments. But you also have intellectual assets. Your knowledge, your skills, your unique experiences, and your abilities. You also have human assets like your family, your values, your faith, and your health, all these types of things. And these are what make up your family balance sheet. Now, here's where it all comes together. For a minute, pretend that all you could do is just pass on 2 of these assets to the people that you care about most. And you had to drop one. Which 2 would you pass on and which one would you drop? When we ask most people, regardless of the level of wealth, they say that they drop the financial one. And the reason is because the people that you care about most in life, they can rebuild financial assets if they have the other 2 assets. So if they could pass on the other 2, the intellectual and the human, then they can rebuild the financial. That's why part 1 of your life strategy, your perfect retirement plan, focuses on what's important to you. If you're able to begin a plan that's based upon your values and what's most important to you, then all the financial decisions become much easier. Your values are the foundation to that successful plan. They're really the reason for planning in the first place. Grubman puts it well, with the right planning and the right perspective, that shirt sleeve to shirt sleeve story doesn't have to be your story. In fact, it's actually highly unlikely to be if you're paying attention and being proactive. So watch this video next where I break down the millionaire blueprint for long-term wealth.